On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
Now we're on day 3. We are talking about Shin Kibayashi's Get Backers. This series here is one of the weirdest shonen I have ever seen. It's kind of shoujo. It's mostly shonen. It's just weird. It's really, really weird. This is one of the few series on this list that I actually own the physical media of. I bought this years ago. I was at the mall, this place called Tokyo Lifestyle, and it had this small little anime section, and this one was kind of peeking through. And I remember reading a little bit of the manga even further years back, and I just decided to pick it up and I watched the entire thing, and as I mentioned, it is very weird. Now, this series, the author, Shin Kibayashi, is actually one of the head writers of Fire Emblem Fates. He actually wrote the story of that game, so you kind of get a background in what kind of quality we're dealing with here. Unfortunately, that quality doesn't really get translated well because this series is not written well. To be totally honest, this is probably the worst series on this entire list, in this entire 12 days of anime. It's kind of bad, but I like it at the same time. Something that I do enjoy about this series are the characters, though. The main character, Genji Amano, the Lightning Prince, I think is what they called him. He was the leader of this gang called the Volts. He has lightning abilities, obviously. And then you have this other character named Bon Mido, who kind of has this dark backstory. I think he might have killed his brother. I can't quite remember. But he's really cool as well. His design's awesome. He has these like small little sunglasses, and he has something called the Jagan Eye, which is something that we've seen from a lot of different anime series, but basically he can like give people nightmares or something like that. It's awesome. In theory, on paper, it is awesome, but there's just so many things that are not executed properly. Now, I've heard that this series here, the anime, does not do the manga justice. I've heard the manga goes way past the anime in terms of characters. There's even kind of a cliffhanger at the end of the anime. I guess they were hoping for a second season, but didn't quite get it. The animation in this series is not great. It's actually pretty poor at some points. I think that the opening is sort of the best animation that the series has to offer. Now, there's some pretty cool fights and pretty cool moments that happen, but they're just, the way they're scripted and the way they're directed, not nice. Just not nice at all. Definitely this is one of the naughtier series on the 12 days of anime, because it's just, it does a lot of things well enough, but just not crossing that line of good, not crossing that line of an actual series worth watching, to be honest. And you might be wondering, why am I even talking about this? Because it's one of the first series I've ever bought. It means a lot to me, it truly does. I think there are things in this series that are redeemable, and things that I've really enjoyed and kind of look for in other series that I don't typically get. The actual story of this series is really interesting. There's this giant shrouding tower in the background, and this weird, basically a dark shadow city. It's kind of in the backdrop of our fictional city that we're in. It's called the Limitless Fortress. It looks really cool. Our characters go back there a couple of times. There's a couple arcs that kind of circulate around this place. Genji Amano, the main character, is actually from there. That's where his gang that's where he started. And there's a lot of secrets. Apparently, now if I recall correctly, it's like not even real. A lot of people can't even see the city in the background. I think it's like some kind of hologram. They start dealing with weird like AI and things like that. There's this character named Makubex, who is completely AI. He tries to leave the city at one point and he just can't. Like, he touches the walls of like the barrier around the city and he just can't go through. It is really strange. Tonally speaking, it's just, it goes in some really weird directions, and I kind of appreciate it on that front. I'm not gonna lie. There's kind of some Shonen Ai stuff going on as well, which is kind of appreciated. It's subtly done throughout the series and it kind of works. Kind of reminds me of Clamp in a way. It reminds me of like if Clamp did shonen, if they did like a proper shonen series, I feel like this is kind of what it would be. Later on, the story starts involving Genji's father. He apparently had some involvement in the creation of the Limitless Fortress. There's a huge cliffhanger there, as I mentioned. It starts talking more about Bon's backstory. There's actually a good amount of side characters that are enjoyable to watch that are voiced very, very poorly throughout. All in all, it is a bad series, I'm not gonna lie, but it kind of crosses that line. It's like almost there, being just okay, being kind of good. You know what? I recommend it. I recommend you watch the first few episodes. It follows a very episodic kind of feel. It follows a very strict formula pretty much halfway throughout the series. Like, I think the first 20 episodes. They're called the Get Backers. They get things back. People hire them to get things back. That's kind of what the story is. And that involves them getting back the arms of the Venus de Mayo, which is actually really cool. They have to get back an RPG that this dude lost all his memory to. There's actually a story arc where the characters have to get back this dude's memories. See, he lost his memories and have to get it back. But there's other things. Obviously, that's such a great sort of foundation that they can build off of, but they do it in such an episodic, boring way. I'm pretty sure a lot of the stuff is actually filler, to be honest, and that's not great. All in all, again, not a terrible series, but just crossing that line. Have you seen Get Backers? I highly doubt that you have, but if you have, sound off in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Are you somewhat kind of intrigued? Let's talk about it, again, down in the comments below. Thank you very, very much for watching. The days continue. I will see you guys tomorrow. Happy holidays.